Hello and welcome back for another history lesson. In this lesson I want to discuss one of the most famous Michigan unsolved mysteries, the Crouch murders. Before we dive into this intriguing story, I want to remind you that your support means a lot to the channel. Please like, leave a comment, share and subscribe so you don't miss out on future uploads. A little bit of backstory first. In 1830 Jacob Crouch arrived in Michigan to start a new life away from New York State. He settled on a large farm in Jackson County. He and his wife, Anne, had 6 children. Sadly, their second daughter Ethel died at the young age of 4. Surviving their sister was Susan Crouch. Byron, Dayton, also known as Joe, Eunice and Judd. Anna died in 1859, just 6 days after the birth of baby Judd. He was raised by his sister, Susan, and her husband, Daniel Holcomb. They lived on a farm nearby. Judd thought they were his parents until he was 10 years old. Eunice, Jacob's without a doubt favorite child, was a graduate of St. Mary's College at Notre Dame. She married Henry White, whose brother, George J. White, was a prominent Jackson physician who sold patent medicines through one of the city's largest pharmacies. Married for only 2 years, the Whites moved back to the farm with Eunice could care for her elderly father. Also living in the Crouch farmhouse was George Bowles, a 16-year-old black farmhand, and Julia Reese, a domestic servant. Not long after midnight on November 22, 1883, a quadruple homicide occurred on a wealthy farm in Spring Arbor Township, near Jackson, Michigan. Fierce winds and an angry thunderstorm raged outside, hiding the sound of gunshots that ripped through the family farmhouse. It was young Bowles that made the horrible discovery. He told police that he was awakened not long after midnight by the thunder and thought he saw a man with a lantern standing outside. He said he heard what sounded like a pop-pop and finally a muffled scream. Terrified for his life, he climbed into a trunk and stayed there until morning. When he finally went downstairs and saw the carnage, he ran to the nearest neighbor, who called upon the sheriff, Eugene D. Winnie. Before he could arrive, worried neighbors had already burst through the door of the Crouch home, tampering the crime scene almost immediately. All the commotion startled Reese, who was in the kitchen preparing breakfast, appearing oblivious to what had happened. All of the victims were shot with .380 caliber bullets. Everyone knew the wealth of this family. No money was stolen from the house. Nothing appeared to be missing, leading investigators to believe the motive was personal rather than a robbery. Jacob Crouch, the wealthy patriarch, had been shot once in the head. Eunice White, known to be Jacob's favorite child, who was also 8 months pregnant, took 2 bullets to the right arm, one in the neck and another in the head. Her husband, William Henry White, had a bullet hole in his neck and another in the abdomen. Moses Polly, a cattle buyer from Pennsylvania, who was visiting on business, was shot in the head and the chest. Later, James Foy, a former farmhand for Holcomb, who was a person of interest, was found with a single gunshot wound to the head. It was known that he talked too freely about the Crouch murders in local saloons, and he had even shot a Union City man who claimed Foy was connected to the case. Foy's death was ultimately ruled a suicide. Because they were the only 2 left alive in the house, Reese and Bowles were jailed for the murders. Not for long, as they were released for lack of evidence. The primary suspects were Jacob's son-in-law, Daniel Holcomb, and his son, Judd Crouch. The motive appeared to be personal. Rumors said Jacob wrote them out of the will and intending on leaving everything to Eunice and her unborn child. No money was taken, so that led investigators to believe this was a personal attack. While I was visiting the Reynolds Cemetery, it got hecka cold, so I didn't get to photograph as much as I wanted. Unfortunately, I'm a dingus and I completely missed the family headstones. I apologize, but I hope you enjoy the photos I did get. Susan Holcomb was found dead in her bed January 2, 1884. Some said she was force-fed rat poison. Others said she killed herself because she didn't want to testify against her husband, but according to the coroner, her heart just gave out. Judd and Daniel were charged with the murders March 8, 1884. But Daniel was acquitted after a short jury deliberation in January 1885. Charges against Judd were subsequently dropped. Others thought it might have been the revenge of a farmhand Crouch had fired, but that list of suspects would be too long. Dozens of amateur detectives descended on Jackson after news spread of the murders. A man named Joseph Allen, a former Jackson resident, was arrested in Hamilton, Ontario, and was charged with the murders on the testimony of Henry Holcomb. Daniel's brother went undercover so he could hang out in the seedier parts of Jackson to get information. Allen had mortgages, deeds, land patents, and a letter that belonged to Jacob Crouch. However, the charges were dismissed May 6, 1884. A couple years later in 1886, 3 bloody shirts were found buried in the stump of a tree on the Holcomb property. It was never proven they belonged to the killers. Jackson County offered a $10,000 reward and a white relative offered another $2,000 for information leading to the capture of the killer or killers. The county also employed the famous Pinkerton Detective Agency to help. Dead end after dead end, no one was ever convicted of the murders. Judd Crouch moved to Indiana after the trials for a fresh start, but later returned to Jackson quietly in the early 1900s. He made a living hauling scrap and doing landscaping. He died in 1946. He and his wife, Viola, are buried in Jackson's Woodland Cemetery. Jacob Crouch's farm, estimated to be worth $50,000, went to Judd, who later lost it to the bank. The original house burned in 1947 in a suspected arson fire. Both Dayton and Byron passed in Texas. Dayton, however, is reburied in New Mexico. Most headstones that are in the Reynolds Cemetery are weathered pretty bad. I couldn't find the Crouch family at all. I visited this cemetery on the anniversary of the murders and I didn't see anything. But people have claimed to see a spiritual mist hovering over the Holcomb resting place. Did you enjoy learning about the Crouch murders? Thank you for watching or listening to this history lesson. It means a lot to me that you made it to the end of the video. It was amazing how difficult it was to research this family and their story. I know it's mostly because of the time, but damn. What did you think of this video? Please leave a like and comment on the video letting me know how I am doing. Subscribe if you haven't already, that way you don't miss future uploads. Please share this with someone you think would enjoy it. Thank you again for watching or listening to this history lesson. Please check out these other videos. Until next time.